it's an ego test more than an IQ test. And the finance people who make a lot of money, it's hard for them to accept that, yo, even though you get paid a lot, you were wrong about all of this your whole life. You were just close to the money printer. And like, that's what made you rich. Not that you're a genius. You were in the rigged game and you were on the team that was rigging. First of all, this is the national debt, right? Okay. Answer your question, right? This is the national debt. Okay. So it's been accelerating the last couple of years, right? So this is like from 1990 and it was going up, whatever, but it's just skyrocketed recently, right? So they're definitely going to continue to print. Maybe this will, this is like a spike, there was COVID, but they're not going to stop printing, right? When money is printed, whoever gets it first benefits the most. So they get to borrow money at 0%. And at the time, it's still worth what it's worth. And then they go buy up all the productive assets. They buy up all the houses, and then they just rent it back to you. And then after 5 or 10 years, inflation is like slow to kick in. Everything is more expensive, but they got the money when it was worth what it was worth. And they just keep doing this in cycles. And like every time, once they spend all their money on Lamborghinis, they just print a new set. Like there's a crisis. They're like, we have to print the money or everything's going to be bad. Give us money. And then they just buy up all the assets again with that money they just printed. And then they rent it back to you. It's like slavery. So that's kind of the problem with inflation, is that the people that print it give it to their friends and the powerful people first. We get it last when it's worth nothing. And they rig the game like this. So what you see in this graph, right, is the total net worth of the bottom 50% is the blue line, right? The red line is the net worth of the top 0.1%. So the top 10% of the 1%, right? And the green line is M2, the amount of money printed. So you could see it almost directly correlates with the money the rich people are taking out of the economy is the money that's printed. Nobody has ever held Bitcoin for 4 years and lost money. They will tell you inflation is caused by Taylor Swift. Literally, if you're watching this, Google Taylor Swift inflation. There's articles and Beyonce inflation, and they'll say it's blamed on her concerts. They'll say it's blamed on supply chain or greedy corporations, but it's just because they're printing money. It's just a distraction, right? So this chart I'm looking at here is the net change in money supply each year since 1960. They tell you inflation is a basket of goods. It's the price of a TV, which is going down, so inflation's going down, blah, blah, blah. But if you look at the chart, look how much money they printed each year. Is it ever 2%? It's never 2%. It's always 13, 7, 5, whatever. I believe the average is something like 6 or 7% a year if you average all these out. But it's pretty freaking high. And then look at 2020, 25%. In 1 year, they stole a quarter of the value of our money in 1 freaking year. It's like absolute power corrupts, right? If you had the power to click a button and make you and all your friends and your family billionaires, you would probably do it. Like most humans would do that. It's understandable that having that power is going to corrupt you. The average American makes $2 million in his lifetime. And most of them spend most of that money. Some of them have a little left over and they give it to their kids. But in that lifetime, they made millions of decisions to manifest the world to becoming what they want it to become. And by printing $6 trillion, if you divide 6 trillion by 2 million, that's 3 million lives erased. All of the economic decisions of 3 million Americans in a click of a button were erased. And they're like, we don't care about your decisions of the world you want to manifest. Let's give these bankers money. And that's why I'm so passionate about Bitcoin, because it's finally giving us a way out of this world where it doesn't matter what we do, how we vote, where we put our money. They could just click a button and undo all of our effort. And it's not a get rich quick. You're not going to buy it and become a millionaire and get a Lambo and go on Reddit and show off, right? All it is I don't know if when you were a kid, if you ever like had this experience, but sometimes I'd go play with the bigger kids and they would cheat, or they would, I would play basketball, they would travel, or I would call a foul and they'd be like, nah, that's not a foul. And it's a rigged game and you can't win. And the only way to win is to take your ball and play somewhere else. So that's what Bitcoin is. It's not going to make you rich quick, but if you save in Bitcoin instead of in dollars, they can't steal your money. When gunpowder came out, yeah, some people were blowing their fingers off. It was dangerous. It was new technology. It was unproven, but it was much more powerful than swords. And some armies were like, we're not touching this. We have tradition. We know what we're doing. Listen, don't teach me about how to fight. We have knights. You guys play with your powder. And they were conquered. Then they had a choice, right? They could keep their big ego and keep their swords after they lost the first battle, or they could be like, yo, listen, this is a strong technology. We need to adopt it. So there's going to be people that fight it to the bitter end, and they're just going to be conquered by those that adopt it. And you're not late. Like, everyone thinks they're late. When it was $100 and it went to 1,000, the people were like, oh, I'm too late. And then when 1,000 and it went to 20, everyone's like, oh, I'm too late. You don't need to buy a full Bitcoin. For those listeners, you could buy $10 of Bitcoin. You don't need to buy $70,000 to have a full coin. But I think in the future, being a whole coiner is kind of like being a millionaire. Like this paycheck that I just got, some money went out to Bitcoin. So I bought it at 70,000 at the top. But in 3 years, when it's in 150 or 200,000 or a million, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I bought it back then too. And so you're never too late. Like if you buy it now, in 2 years, you're gonna laugh when people are like, I can't believe I didn't buy it at 70,000. Like, radioactive stuff takes hundreds of years to decay, right? And ideally, if you're saving, you want it to not decay. So like the dollar has a half-life of 7 years. So if the inflation rate is 7%, 7 times 7 is 49, right? So if you saved in dollars, after 7 years, half of it decayed, half of your savings, right? So what we had with gold was not so bad because the inflation rate of gold is 1.5, right? So 1.5 is like 30 years to get to 33 years to get to half decay. So you could save up and it would take 33 years for it to decay. So you had time to like do something with it. 7 years is very fast, but 33 years, not as bad, but still bad, right? And with Bitcoin, it stays forever. There's no decay. It's just infinite. So infinite half-life, which is amazing. The next 5,000 years will be Bitcoin. So we transact instantly. We have to be able to send value at the speed of light. You cannot send gold at the speed of light. We've corrupted our money to the point where it doesn't work as a savings technology anymore. So a plumber has to have a side job of being an investor just to not lose the work that he's putting in. The blood is corrupt. There's a disease in the blood. Like money is our lifeblood. It circulates between all the organs and all the businesses. And we have like an infection of the blood. So if you fix the symptoms in the knee or the organ or whatever, it's just going to come back because the blood is corrupted.